On May 8, 2018, a post was made to the DDLC mod subreddit by user MetaWarrior titled, "Request, can you help me find a mod?" The post was asking for help finding the Doki Doki Literature Club mod that they had downloaded from the sub a few days ago, although the mod they described was something nobody had ever heard of, and seemed more like a cry for help from its creator. It was a short mod that focused on Sayori. The mod was supposed to be a prequel to the original DDLC game. It was pretty much like an hour-long play of just making open-based decisions, and your decisions affected Sayori's state of depression. Of course, the good ending was accomplished by saving her from her depression, but it started getting weird. When the game finished and I saved her from her depression, another screen popped up and said, "Now save me." A text file opened with a link attached and the note part 2. This part was supposed to be a sequel to the original game, as noted in the game's files. In this part, I'm dating Sayori, and after 30 minutes of talking to her about her depression, she starts to go on and talk about how, quote, "She is okay, but there is someone in your world that needs help. Please go help that person." Confused, I clicked the option, "What are you talking about?" She went on to talk about the creator of the mod being suicidal, and that, quote, "He needs help. You are the only person." I responded to her saying, "How can I help?" And she directed me to the game's files. In an obscure folder, I find a shortcut for a website. When I clicked on it, it brought up a website that had a tile on the tab called "It is fun," but the website was blank. I went back to the page, and there was actually a website to go on this time, and not just a blank page. I'm truly worried for the creator of the mod. I want to help him/her. So if you know what the mod is called, or the Reddit user who posted the mod, please tell me. MetaWarrior would also attach a link to the website they had gotten from the mod's files. At the time, nobody had any idea that this site would lead to one of the most disturbing and confusing events I've ever seen in the DDLC community, and lead me down one of the strangest rabbit holes this community has to offer. The link in MetaWarrior's post led to a site called Zestis.com. When you clicked on it, you would be brought to a page titled "Suicide Ain't That Bad," a black page with a sprite of Sayori as a distorted version of the DDLC soundtrack played. Below the image was text that read, "Goodbye. You saved Sayori, but you can't save me." Zestis.com has since been taken down, so I'm going off of the archives that are available, but it seemed like this was the only thing on the site, with no way to access other pages. Back on the Reddit post, nobody else knew what mod MetaWarrior was referring to, as no other user claimed to have ever seen or heard of such a mod. Some would become skeptical if he were just making this thing up as some shady creepypasta, but MetaWarrior insisted that the mod and the site were genuine, and that the mod's creator, whom also be referred to as MC, needed help. Other users would express concern over MC, and the site seemingly provided no answers, although MetaWarrior would later edit his post, giving an update on the discovery he had made. So after I inspect elemented the page, I saw that the author had left a comment. It read, "But before I go, I want to leave a little mystery or puzzle. So whoever can solve it gets a special prize I leave behind. It hurts." This discovery made things a lot more clear. This was an ARG. And assuming MetaWarrior's post is real, it's an ARG that could prevent someone from taking their own life. An ARG, or alternate reality game, is a popular form of online storytelling that is meant to immerse the player within the story's narrative by having them solve puzzles in the real world that progress the story. ARGs can often blur the lines between reality and fiction, making it difficult for people to tell what's based in fiction and what's based in reality. This isn't the first ARG to be centered around saving someone. Hell, it wasn't even the only time a puzzle like this has appeared in the DDLC community. But regardless, people were determined to solve this and potentially save someone's life. And thankfully, we wouldn't have to wait long for a new update. The next day, May 9th, MetaWarrior would make a post to the DDLC subreddit titled "A Missing Mod Puzzle," where he would recap his previous post and share the findings he and other redditors had made sense. If you take the "It hurts" part of the MC's comment and put it as a subdomain on the Zestis.com site, you will be taken to a new page by the same name. It's another black page, but this time it shows a screenshot of the scene where the player walks in on your as the game's end credits, "Your Reality" plays in the background. Underneath the screenshot was more text. The text were lyrics from "Your Reality," they're mostly unchanged except for the last 2 lines of the second chorus. "And if this world won't write me a good ending, then I'll have to give myself a fun.zestis.com good ending." Once again, if you were to inspect element the page, the MC had left another comment, 5/12/18. Many saw this day as presumably the end of the ARG, and the day that the MC would take their own life. Visiting the mentioned fun.zestis.com, you would be taken to a page titled "This is Fun." Once again, you'll be met with another black page, but its content is far more interesting and disturbing than the previous 2 pages. At the top of the page, you'll see a picture of what appears to be Yuri covered in blood. Next to the image was text that reads, "Today Skin open for the first time. It was exhilarating. Below that were two images. The first image shows the MC's arm aligned with cuts. Below the arm is an open notebook with its pages smeared with blood. The second image is a close-up of one of the bloody pages, which we're able to see has writing on it. This is fun. 1921-93945.exesses.com. Below that was more text. As stated at the end of the page's text, the numbers on the notebook page were a code that would give users the next subdomain. The users were able to figure out that the numbers were an alphanumeric code, that when decoded resulted in the words point as the site's subdomain resulted in the page titled soon. This page was very similar to the previous ones, featuring another image and more text, although it didn't just contain images, as it's the first page to also contain videos. The first video titled Cuts to MP4 I can't really show, but it depicts the MC cutting themselves with the knife shown in the previous page. The second video, Code.mp4, shows the MC's computer screen at the bottom of a r/DDLC Reddit thread, more specifically, the Missing Mod puzzle thread, with them hovering their mouse over Sayori's chibi icon. More comments from the MC were also found on the page. The hint will be released tomorrow. If you don't find the clue, good luck. Meta Warrior, don't be scared. I really want you to see this. So for you out of 112 people that played my mod, you are the only one to try and find it. It is somewhere out here. Someone has it installed. 3. There are more clues to be found. Look back and see if you can find it. You guys are good. Time to crank up the hardness lever. Good luck. Finding new subdomains does not require guessing for now. I will let you know when you need to guess. The text on the page was in base 64, and when decoded translated to this. I am watching. I couldn't save her. Brutally beaten by her father, and more that I don't even want to talk about, and I was blind to it all. She was just like Sayori, and I knew her since we were little kids. She is gone now, so I must go as well. MC will later update the page's comments. Alright, go to sleep guys. I need a little cut break, and get some sleep as well. But remember 5/12/18. Just so you know, you won't be hearing much from me anymore. I love you pro tags. Now go have fun. No further pages were created or updated for the rest of the day following this. These 4 pages were the only things the search team had to work with, and their content convinced many that the ARG was actually real. The most recent page also revealed that the MC was actively monitoring the search and updating the puzzles in real time. Some community members would create a Discord server where future discoveries would be discussed. So far, we don't know much about the MC or their true reasoning behind making this. The only hint we got was the last page's base 64 text about the MC's childhood friend's traumatic upbringing and them passing away. But with only 3 days left until the supposed end of the ARG, the search team immediately got to work on solving this new puzzle. On May 10th, the search team figured out that the Code.mp4 video contained Morse code based on the timing of Sayori's jumps. When the Morse code was translated, it gave the word red. Just like before, putting red as the site's subdomain gave us a new page, Blood Red. But instead of a black page, we're met with a red one. The majority of the page was taken up by a fan art drawing of Natsuki. Below the drawing was a short poem. Red. Red is a color. Paint can be red. Blood is red. The sharper the knife, the more red you get. But dull knives can also get red. With a little more pain, canvases can look like photos. Contents are found within. The poem doesn't really tell us much, but the last line gave users a hint on how to find the next subdomain, as when the page's source code was opened with a text editor, a new URL was found near the end, note.exesses.com. When searching the discovered URL, you'll be taken to another page titled Soon. This page returned back to the black color scheme, with the page's top half showing fan art of Sayori, and the bottom half seemingly being a note written from Sayori's perspective. The note went on to thank the Literature Club members and thanking the player for being there for Sayori. Just like the previous page, if you were to put the page's source code into a text editor, you would find this piece of text near the end, a Route22 Caesar cipher that when decrypted gives us a new URL, intro.exesses.com. This page featured a pink color scheme with a sprite Natsuki near the top. Below the sprite was text written out like a story from a first person's perspective, titled Introduction. The story is written through the perspective of Dan, a high school student, as he meets up with his childhood friend Amelia. With the two of them walking to school together, Dan is shown to have feelings for Amelia, describing her as a happy and carefree person. It's pretty clear that this is meant to parallel the opening of DDLC, where the player meets up with Sayori and walks with her to school, with Dan presumably being the MC and Amelia being the girl referenced in the first Soon page. It's not fully known if these are actually people's names or just aliases. This page also had a comment from the MC. Overthinking is not wise. The line and letter are the only way to transfer knowledge. This comment was was once again another hint on solving this page's puzzle, as when you put it through a text editor like the previous one, you will find codes to a book cipher near the end of the image that correlate with the text. The numbers on the left refer to the line, and the numbers on the right are the amount of characters. When decoded, we're given the word story, our new subdomain. Story.zexus.com brings us to a purple page titled Story. On the left is a sprite of Siri crying, and on the right is our third video titled Cut.mp4. Once again, I can't really show the video, but it depicts the MC washing the cut scars on their arm underneath their bathroom sink and then drying them off. At 53 seconds, the video cuts to the MC using the knife from before and cutting their arm once again. At the bottom of the page is another story snippet just like the previous one. The page's comment reads, "It's not her fault, she just wants me to be happy," as well as having this piece of garbled text. The garbled text is a Caesar cipher shifted by 18, and when decoded gives us Amelia.zestis. Something interesting about this page is that it was updated multiple times. The version I just explained was the final version, as according to this Discord user, the page originally featured 2 images and didn't have the story text until later. Something that's also worth noting is that while the search team was discussing the page in a Discord VC, a video titled Watching.mp4 was posted to the site before quickly being deleted. The video showed a black screen, with the audio being the voices of those who were in the VC, once again showing that the MC was actively monitoring the search team and was now a part of their Discord server. Visiting Amelia.zexus.com will take us to a black page, the majority of which is taken up by an edited sprite of Natsuki crying, with her arms littered with cuts. At the bottom is another story excerpt written from Dan's POV. It shows Dan and Amelia hanging out together as a couple, with Dan being scared and confused as to why Amelia won't explain her injuries seen on the previous page. When the page was opened in a text editor just like before, Dan.zestis was found. Dan.zestis.com is another black page, but this time with red text. The top of the page shows a grayscaled picture of Sayori's hanging sprite. The text below is another interaction between Dan and Amelia, although this one just contains their dialogue, where we learn the disturbing nature of Amelia's home life. Below the dialogue appears to be a suicide note from Amelia that is stated to be taken from her diary. At the very bottom of the page was this series of numbers that turned out to be another alphanumeric code that translates to hang.zestis. Hang.zestis.com led to another black page titled Story. The top of the page showed a fan-out drawing of Sayori with around her neck. The text below is another story snippet titled Hey Amelia, wanna hang out? But once again shown Dan's POV as he heads to Amelia's house, only to find her sister Emily crying, and eventually discovering that Amelia had taken her own life, with Dan expressing sadness and anger for not being able to help her beforehand. The page's comments read, "Rest in peace Amelia, I will take care of Emily, to be continued." This page is a bit different from the others, as it was consistently updated after its initial version, as sometime after a new line of text and comments were added. "You have reached this far. You may ask me one question and one question only. Make it count. No, I will not reveal who I am. Yes, you don't have to ask the question right away. If I do not like the question, I won't answer it." At around 8:36 PM, MetaWarrior will open a straw poll for the search team to decide what question they wanted the MC to answer. The questions range from asking if the full mod that started all this would be released, to what the price the MC alluded to earlier was, to the status of people like Emily, to even asking if the MC was actually being serious or just around. Some still having doubts about the ARG's authenticity even this many days in. About 10 minutes later, the MC would update the page with a response, seemingly answering multiple questions despite saying he would only answer one. "Emily is currently living with me. She is now 18, and we're quote-unquote dating. The mod has no relevance. The diary reveals too much personal information. I will allow 2 more questions about Emily. FYI, I will release the mod on 5/12/18. After some discussion, 2 more questions would be asked. Is Emily aware of this? What will happen to Emily when this is over? The page will be updated about 12 minutes later, answering the new questions. Emily has no idea that this is going. All she does is sit in her room and sleeps. My relation to her is that she's my quote-unquote girlfriend. We are supporting each other, but she is damaged, just like me. When we do things in bed, she wants me to choke her so she can feel the way Amelia did. A lot more will be explained in Amelia.zestis.com. The only reason why I say quote-unquote dating and quote-unquote girlfriend is because she lives with me, but all she does is sit in our room sleeping and crying. We don't go out. All we do is have sex. But I love her and she loves me." At some point, a crop NSFW drawing of Sayori was added above the text, and the page's comments would be deleted, before eventually turning back to the original version I initially read. At the time when trying to visit Emily.zestis.com, no page would show up. It wouldn't be until the next day, May 11th, that the page would be created. Another page titled Story, featuring a pink color scheme with a sprite Natsuki at the top, and a close-up picture of the MC's cuts at the bottom. Similarly to the previous page, this one was updated over different periods of time, resulting in this very long stretch of text, but I'm gonna try my best to summarize it. The text is split up into 7 different sections and takes place over the course of 2.5 years after Amelia's death. We're shown Dan trying to be protective and help Emily, and is seemingly already trying to move on, while Emily still continues to grieve, with her life eventually starting to spiral, with it only worsening after learning the truth of Amelia's abuse from their father that resulted in her. Emily and Dan eventually start living together and become the quote-unquote couple that was mentioned on the previous page, with it being rather obvious that the two of them have a pretty toxic relationship. After a few months of them living together, it turns out that Emily's father has committed very similarly to Amelia, with it only worsening Emily's already broken mental state. A few weeks after this, Dan starts seeing visions of Amelia and starts seeing Emily transform into her, to the point where the two of them start to become indistinguishable. The page's comments read, "Don't follow the white rabbit, it is a red herring. MC only posts on his website, to be continued. I will only answer one question from Aoki. It must be her choice and no one else can influence her choice. But in return you must answer my question, Aoki." Don't follow the white rabbit refers to a video that was posted on the Discord server earlier in the day, something that I'll talk more about a bit later. The Discord user the MC mentioned did respond, expressing concern for them, and asking why they decided to do this, to which the MC just brushed it off and mocked the server's infighting, before leaving another clue. Emily's voice.mp3 coming to stores near you. There was only 1 day left before the ARG was supposed to end, and users desperately tried to find a new subdomain, or they mentioned Emily's voice.mp3, but they found nothing. Even when May 12th rolled around, there was still nothing. No site updates and nothing posted to the Discord. The ARG just suddenly stopped. It's not known exactly when this happened, but sometime between late 2018 and early 2019, nearly all sites relating to Zestis.com were deleted, leaving only the main page, which was retitled "Is Pretty Bad." The black page was now replaced with an orange one, and the Siri sprite was replaced with a Sailor Moon sunset gif. Below that was a message from the MC. "Hello, you didn't save me, sorry, but don't feel at fault. It was never my intention to let you save me. After my attempt, I was put into a mental institution where they quote-unquote helped me, although the drugs they gave me made me feel numb and even worse. It gave me time to think. All the time I spent before I turned 18 was great. I lived a very happy life. I was okay with dying, but I have something to live for, which I would love to tell you all, but you can't change your opinion of me now. All I will say is that it will help people like Amelia. I'll leave it up to that. So I will leave your lives with this final message. No matter who you are, where you are, I don't know who you are, but thank you. I love you all. Last time I started with a goodbye. This time I'm ending it with it. Goodbye, Dan." When the page was inspected, there was a link to the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, a non-profit organization that provides resources for victims of sexual assault. It's safe to assume that this was the end of the ARG, as no new updates were given or found. And in October of 2019, this page would also be taken down. The status and true identity of the MC are still unknown. Okay, so I know that was kind of a lot, so I'm going to try and recap everything and explain the story the ARG was trying to tell. The ARG follows Dan, who is presumably the MC, and his relationship with Amelia and her younger sister, Emily. Dan and Amelia have a very similar dynamic to Sayuri and the player from DDLC. Dan eventually finds out that Amelia has been undergoing from her father, and eventually takes her own life as a result. Dan feels the need to protect Emily, with the two of them eventually entering a toxic relationship together as a form of coping, and Dan starts to see Emily as Amelia, with the two of them eventually becoming indistinguishable to him. Presumably around this time, the mod Meta Warrior found is created and posted, and while the mod itself isn't too important to the narrative, it acts as a way for people to find Zestis.com, which acts as Dan's final hurrah before taking his own life. Now that the ARG is presumably at its end, I know that there are still questions that need to be answered, like who exactly is the MC? Why does this ARG even exist? And the biggest being, was any of this even real? Well, I think I might have an answer and explanation for it all. The easiest explanation is that we just take everything at face value, assuming that this was a genuine cry for help and that Amelia, Emily, and Dan, who is presumably the MC, are real people, where Dan eventually gains some form of help, resulting in the ARG being incomplete, and leaving their status a complete mystery. There is evidence that supports this, the videos and photos of the MC, the ARG being abandoned, and the fact that there seems to be no ulterior motive. The ARG doesn't seem to be promoting anything, and the story excerpts seem like things that could realistically happen. Zestis.com being deleted could also be seen as someone just wanting to move on from this part of their life. Multiple times, the ARG presents itself as real, so we can just assume that everything we're being shown is real, right? Well, there's an overwhelming amount of evidence that points to the ARG being completely fake, with this actually being the main conclusion that the search team has come to. Remember the Don't Follow the White Rabbit video that I briefly mentioned earlier? Well, now we're gonna talk about it. The video was posted to the Discord server by an unknown user, with the video playing an assortment of sounds that is presumably some form of code. Although the video and the channel it was posted to aren't that important, as both the MC and the person behind the channel said that it was just a troll and red herring. But this did open up the idea that there is more to the ARG than just a website, which is seemingly true. While I said nothing was found during the last day of the ARG, I kinda lied, as at some point the Emily's Voice.mp3 audio was posted to the Discord server, supposedly by a user named Amelie. The audio file contained a female voice reading out an array of numbers. When the numbers were decoded, it resulted in this YouTube URL to a video titled Helper. Similarly to the White Rabbit video, this one also plays an assortment of sounds that are some sort of code, but unlike the previous channel, this one seems to be more connected to DDLC and the ARG. Although some users pointed out that the Save Her video isn't anything new, as it had been uploaded on a different channel 8 days before the ARG even began. Even more, this channel was connected to an already established figure within the community. Users found out that the Save Her video was a re-upload of another video titled Watch Me, which is a re-upload of a now unlisted video titled I See You, with the original video being uploaded on April 30th, 2018, 8 days before Meta Warrior made their post and 8 days before the ARG even started. The channel these two videos were posted to is called Sikadev, who is a DDLC mod content creator. You may not recognize their name, but you most likely recognize their most popular mod, as they're the creator behind Doki Doki Rain Clouds, an extremely popular and iconic DDLC mod. While this doesn't necessarily confirm that Sikadev is behind the ARG, there's a lot of evidence that points to them being behind it that's just too hard to ignore. When the Save Her video was decoded, it led to a Google Drive with an image titled Rain Clouds, and when looking at who was the drive's owner, it belonged to Sikadev. The unlisted video that I mentioned before was found through Sikadev's new mod, Doki Doki New Eyes, which coincidentally was published on May 12, 2018, the same day that the ARG kept referring to and presumably ended on. Even the dates when Zestis.com was fully deleted aligned up, as in 2019 Sikadev would take a step back and work on their own visual novel, and has presumably left the DDLC community. The conclusion that the search team had came to was that Sikadev was Meta Warrior, and in turn the MC of the ARG, with it meant to act as a sort of promotion for Rain Clouds, which released 3 months beforehand, or most likely for New Eyes, as it's a more horror and meta-focused mod, as well as a spiritual successor to Rain Clouds. And given that both the Amelie channel and the ARG drew parallels to Sayuri and Yuri, who are the main focus of each mod respectively, it's not hard to see the connections. While Sikadev has denied any involvement with the ARG, it could easily just be a lie. Considering that the ARG has essentially been abandoned, and with how obscure this whole thing is, we may never truly know who was behind it and what its true purpose was. The ARG's explanation just depends on what you're willing to believe, whether this was a real cry for help or someone just trying to promote their mod. But regardless, this is still one of DDLC's strangest rabbit holes, a rabbit hole that will most likely never be solved. I hope you all enjoyed this video. This was definitely one of the more strange and complex things I had to research, and it took way more time than it probably should have. But if you think my research was worth it, consider subscribing. It's free and you can undo it any time. If you all would like to access this video and future videos uncensored or a day early, consider joining the Patreon. It starts at only $1 and would really help out the channel. YouTube memberships are also available and offer similar benefits. Let me know if you all would like to see more singular deep dive videos like this one, and if you have any suggestions as to what I should make next. Otherwise, I'll see y'all in the next video.